but go to therapy if you have those resources. There is nothing wrong with seeking professional help. But if you have the resources to go to therapy, you can access a therapist quickly, go. Do it. Go as many times as you need and find someone that works for you. And just because you find one therapist doesn't mean that has to be your forever therapist. It may not work out with that person. So shop around if you can. But if you have if you have the resources and the privilege of going to therapy, please seek it out. It's for the best. It's for you. It's for those around you. And it's for you to heal. Hi there, hello, welcome to my space. I'm so glad to have you here. My name is Douglas, and if this is your first time here, welcome. So glad to have you. If this is your millionth time, I'm so glad to have you back. I like building this community here. You all have been so wonderful, and I'm just so glad that you even like my content, so I'm glad to have you. Today, I want to talk about triggers. We hear a lot about triggers, and people on certain political spectrums will make fun of them, but everyone has a trigger. Everyone has something that kind of just irks them, and whether it's something silly or something very serious, we've all got them because we share that human experience. So I want to talk about triggers today and kind of how to deal with them, because your trigger is your trigger, and maybe the stimulus is something that a person is doing, but like sometimes it can just be the way that the trees are blowing in the wind. You never know. So we're going to talk about ways to identify your triggers and how to deal with them. Let's talk about it. First and foremost, what even is a trigger? A trigger is an action or situation that prompts a previous traumatic experience, memory, or feeling to resurface. This can lead to an overwhelming emotional reaction. So basically just something that pops up that bothers you, and then maybe that being bothered builds into something a little bit more than what it was to begin with. Like I said, a trigger can be anything from you're listening to a song that takes you back to your high school days, but maybe that was a day in high school that was really bad, or just like you eat a food and the taste of it brings back a memory. It could be, the pair of pants that someone's wearing. That's not really their problem, but that's a trigger. And we all, like I said, we all have them. So yeah, I don't know why people make fun of them. So here's some ways to maybe deal with them. All right, the most crucial element to dealing with your triggers, if you just took this list and just threw the rest of the trash, but you only had one thing to take away from it, take this thing. Learn to identify them. Because I don't know if you're like me, but one of my big things is just not knowing that I am triggered, or not knowing that something will trigger me. So having an awareness of self, having, acknowledging your past, your present, where you're at, where you've been, where you'd like to go, that kind of thing is going to help you identify what the trigger even is. Because if you don't know something could bother you, you could be in for a world of hurt. Who knows? But if you're aware of yourself, if you've taken account of your past and situations you've been in and how far you've come, maybe that can help you with being able to identify situations, people, and things that you could avoid. Now, I'm the kind of person where I'm like, I'll just try to deal with this. I'll try to face it head on, but not everything needs to be faced head on. You know what I mean? So being able to identify a trigger, being able to just know what it is, knowing yourself well enough to be able to see it from a mile off is going to do you a world of favors, because it's the surprise for me. It's being caught off guard that really bothers me. I didn't even know that was a thing. Well, now you do. So, take some time to meditate. Take some time to think on it. Who am I? What are things that truly get under my skin? Why does it get under my skin? You know what I mean? What is this thing? Is it tied to a memory? Is it tied to a traumatic event? Identifying your triggers is going to just help you more than anything else, because knowledge is power. That sounds cliche, but knowledge really is power. So have that knowledge, and the only way you're going to get that knowledge is to turn inward and to reflect. All right, the next tip is to make a plan in advance to address the trigger. So now you know what the trigger is. Now you know what it is. Now you know what bothers you. You know who you are. So now, before you're ever triggered, you're kind of taking stock of these things. So what are you going to do to address them when they come up? Because triggers will happen. They will happen. So what's your plan? Whether that's having a person that you can call, that you've discussed this with them, maybe it's a meditation plan, or breathing techniques, or just getting to a quiet place, or just avoiding the situation entirely. Those are all valid, And like I said earlier, I'm the kind of person sometimes where it's I'm going to just face it, but sometimes you really just need to just avoid it, whatever it is, because it could present an unsafe situation for you. Triggers are valid, and they can be life-altering depending on what it is. So what's your plan to address them? take stock of that, take that personal responsibility and commit it to memory, commit it to action and muscle memory, because you just never know when a trigger might pop up, but sometimes you do know. So what are you going to do to handle it? Because your trigger is yours, and so it is your responsibility to kind of head off in a way. And of course, surround yourself, with people and, situations that are going to respect those boundaries and those triggers too. And maybe they'll help avoid them or help guide you through them a bit too. But that's putting responsibility on someone else. So these are ways you can address them. A great way to handle the trigger is finding a solution to dealing with the feelings that come with the trigger. So not only learning how to handle the trigger, but how do you handle the feelings that come along with it? What are you doing to address those thoughts that pop into your head? What are you doing to heal yourself? And this is going to be, before and after you're triggered. I mean, this is the build up to it. What are you doing to handle those feelings? Because those feelings are your own. Whether someone else is making you feel them or not, they are your feelings. So what are you doing to address them? What are you doing to navigate through those? I mean, there's lots of cool resources on YouTube. There's lots of cool, accounts on like TikTok and Instagram where you can just learn breathing techniques, meditation, surrounding yourself with just things that make you feel good. But don't deny your feelings. If something stresses you, you should look at that stress, figure out why, what it is, how you can navigate it. Just don't ignore it. Don't ignore the feeling. If you're triggered, do not ignore that. And don't let anybody make fun of you for it either. That person's probably unsafe if they're making fun of a trigger you have. Yeah. Oh, that brings me to my next point. Communicate your triggers to your loved and close ones. People that you can trust, people you know that aren't going to try to use that or manipulate you in any way. Communicate what triggers you, because I'm not a mind reader. And even if it might seem obvious to you, it may not be obvious to them. Because again, these are your feelings. This is your experience. So find people that you know you can trust, whether it's a loved one, a partner, sibling, whatever. Communicate with them. Hey, this kind of thing or behavior, action, situation really bothers me. Here's why. You can explain why. You don't have to, but you can explain why, and maybe they can help. They can be a part of that group that's going to help you navigate those, maybe. But don't put the responsibility on them. This is just awareness for them. Just to say, hey, this is a thing, so don't be caught off guard if this thing happens and, I freak out. You know what I mean? Communicate your feelings and thoughts, though. Never be shy. Never be afraid of your feelings and thoughts. They're valid. You're valid. Speaking of your thoughts, reality check your thoughts. Not everything that pops into your head is the truth. You're valid in how you feel, but if you're thinking to yourself, I'm a piece of garbage, it's probably not true. You're not a piece of garbage. But our brains might make us think that based on a trigger, based on a thing that we can't control. So reality check yourself. Ask yourself, are these my thoughts? Is this prompted by something in reality? Is this prompted by something that just happened that triggered me? Or is this something that has been ongoing? You know what I mean? Ground yourself. Touch the walls, touch the floor. Grab your shoulders and just breathe. And reality check yourself. You are on this planet, you are in this world. So what are these thoughts? Where are they coming from? How do I navigate them? Finally, the best advice I could give isn't really accessible to everyone. For me, I'm very low income, but go to therapy if you have those resources. There is nothing wrong with seeking professional help. I have had difficulty finding a therapist because our mental health system, it is what it is, and I can go into that in another video. But if you have the resources to go to therapy, you can access a therapist quickly, go. Do it. Go as many times as you need and find someone that works for you. And just because you find one therapist doesn't mean that has to be your forever therapist. It may not work out with that person. So shop around if you can. But if you have if you have the resources and the privilege of going to therapy, please seek it out. It's for the best. It's for you. It's for those around you, and it's for you to heal. Do things that are going to help you heal. Don't do things and be around things and people that are going to keep you in that same triggered place. You know what I mean? Because triggers exist and you're valid, but you don't always have to navigate in that life. You don't always have to navigate in that reality. You can heal from your triggers, and that's the most important thing. You can heal. You can absolutely, in a year, not be triggered by something that used to, and that is growth, and you can absolutely experience that. So that's been the video. What did you think? Did I miss anything on this list? I'm just very passionate about you healing, and I'm passionate about my own healing and my own recovery, from trauma. We all have trauma. We all do. We all deal with these things. So the best way we can deal with them is just community and talking it out and getting our thoughts out there. So please comment below if you feel comfortable, and if you'd like some personal advice from me, just my perspective. Cool. Know that I'm not a mental health professional, but I'd be happy to give you my input. I'd be happy to hear you. And I mean, just take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. And yeah, that's, anyways, did you like the list? Was there anything I could have added in a subsequent video? Don't forget, I post new content every Monday and Thursday. I make my TikToks, I turn those into shorts like every other day. I post music content a couple times a year, so please join my community. I'd love to have you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Comment below, say, hi, I subscribed. I'd love to hear from you. I try to be as active in my comments as possible. And, I'll say here, I'm always trying to reinvent myself, and I'm always trying to bring the best content to you all. So here on this channel, I'm going to be updating things to make my content more engaging. I'm going to be bringing you maybe some new formats for how I bring you the information, and I'm always looking for suggestions. So please comment below. Like, seriously, I read them all, and I try to implement them. In fact, the last 2 videos, including this one, have been from suggestions from people I love and care about quite a bit. So if there's something you want to hear about, if there's something you'd like for me to talk about, please don't hesitate. Let me know. I love you so much. We attract love, light, peace, safety, and security as long as we say we do. I'll post more soon.